all, or good afternoon or good evening, depending where you're attending from. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar. My name is Kumo, and I am a course advisor for ECT. And today's presentation will be hosted by Steve, which is our principal for ECT and EIT. For some of you, you may know EIT. And I'd just like to turn your attention to the notifications. If maybe you can turn those off during the presentation, that's just to minimize any disruptions that may occur throughout the presentation. And secondly, I'd like to notify you guys about the Q&A function, which is in between the chat box and the raise your hand. So that function is basically for you guys to put your questions in as we're going along, and Steve will be able to answer them closer to the end of the presentation. And for this presentation today, we are going to have a certificate of attendance, of which I will provide you all with the QR code as well as the link. Now, for the certificate of attendance, that will be sent to your email in 4 business days from today. So please just check your inbox for that. If it's not in your inbox, it could be in your junk mail or spam mail. And you'll also be receiving a copy of the slides and video recordings. Those will be sent to you within 2 business days from today. And similarly with that, please check your junk mail if it is not in your inbox. There is a survey that it's not really a survey, but it's basically a form that to fill out to ensure that you do get the copy of the slides, the presentation, as well as the certificate of attendance. And in terms of today's conduct, if you could just follow my instructions and things will go smoothly. And secondly, one thing I'd like to mention again is that the form that I just mentioned needs to be filled out in 2 business days as well. Otherwise, it will expire and you will not be able to receive the recordings or the certificate of attendance. And today's topic is going to be AI and electrical engineering and industrial automation, a practical toolbox of skills for the next decade, which will be presented by Steve Mackay. And as I've mentioned, he is our principal. If you don't mind, sir, you can take it away.
Thanks so much, Kuma. I really appreciate it, and wonderful to be here and on this incredible topic, and look forward to chatting to everyone here. So happy days ahead. If you have any problems with my voice or you can't hear me, just text in the box and we'll obviously be right there. I'm very grateful to my colleague Kuma here, who probably knows considerably more than I do, and is very knowledgeable, and he'll pick up the pieces if anything goes wrong. So really, this is me, Steve Mackay. I love engineering, and AI has been something I've been working with great vigor on over the last 2-3 years, and we've got a few projects underway. And I love learning something new every day. And believe me, with AI, there's a huge amount of stuff which I need to learn. And in fact, I've said here at the beginning, a little bit presumptuously, I've said we've got for the next decade. Well, let me tell you now, there's 3 or 4 slides I'm going to add in halfway through, which I've just got off the hot press a few hours ago. So I'll add those in. It's a developing field, it's a great field, and it's of huge value. So hopefully I can get a few ideas across to everyone here. I don't think there's anyone here that's attended the session before, but if you have, I'm presenting AI every few weeks, and you may have attended the session, so please feel free to withdraw if you've seen this presentation before. But it's really about a little focus on engineering and AI. And obviously, ECT, Engineering College of Technology, we are recently founded a year ago, so we're very keen about meeting you and obviously telling you about our programs in due course. but this is not a sales presentation. I'm not going to be trying to sell you the finest Persian Fakari rug. I'm purely going to talk about AI. Unfortunately, I can't go through every slide. We've got about 45 minutes, tightly choreographed. Kumo will cut me off if I talk too long. So I've got a lot of material to cover, and I want to add a few extra slides in. Sorry about that, Kumo. And we will cover some slides in detail, others I'll skim over, but you will get all the slides. So really, just a quick chat about today's objective. Why AI matters for engineers. Everyone's talking about AI for computer science and stuff like that. Fundamentals of AI. I just want to briefly reflect on that. I used to give a whole hour presentation on, the design of AI and coding and stuff like that. We've moved well beyond that now, so we don't do that anymore. I just want to talk about applications and case studies, and particularly revisit a few coding issues, particularly with PLCs and SCADA. Just talk about that, and then just some old tried and tested rules on AI design pitfalls to manage. And again, you've probably heard these, and then a wrap up. So that's basically what we're going to be doing. Obviously, the idea is to give you a bit of a background to AI. I'm not going to go into detail, but I'd like to obviously focus on the engineering aspects and just get some idea. So before I go into too much detail, I just want to get an idea of who's who here. So if you can just text in the box, there's a little text box there, and a lot of you have been using it. Just put in the text box what's your current job title so I can get an idea. I just want to get a profile for everyone here so they can see who's who rather than, I don't know who all these other guys are or ladies are. So please just put in the box your job title, electrical engineer, engineer, technician, just to get a bit of a profile, electrician, IT manager, whatever. So just put their little thing there. QA, QC, yep. Attending from South Africa, electrical engineer, yep. Maintenance supervisor, electrical project engineer, electrical artisan, yep, brilliant, excellent. System engineer, engineering student, fantastic. Mechanical engineer, engineering student, system engineer, instrumentation engineer, brilliant, excellent, great stuff. Okay, that's fabulous. Industrial engineer, Babs, Eldon, maintenance engineer, tender specialist, lecturer in industrial automation. Fabulous, 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 fabulous. So thanks everyone for letting us know. And next question, another little question is, sorry, current job title. So really, what we're going to be talking about is obviously, okay, that's great, draftsman, technician. So we've got a very strong engineering group, which is good, and it makes a lot of sense here. So obviously, you can ignore AI, but I believe AI is like Google on steroids. I'm yet to be convinced that it's going to take everyone's jobs, but it really is important. It's taking over everywhere. It's moving in anywhere. And you as engineers, technicians work with data every day. So it is extremely useful. And it can boost productivity. And by the same token, it can destroy productivity. So we'll talk about those issues shortly. And it can reduce risk, but there are certain areas where you will not use it when you've got high risk control activities. And to be quite honest with you, as you would know, it's become a core competency. We had a whole lot of students today that are starting orientation at our campus in Perth, and they were saying, hey, I'm using AI, but I'm not sure how to apply it to engineering. So everyone is using it, not always successfully. So really, what you've got to do is think about your data analytics literacy, and we can talk about that later. Look at engineering design. That's a very useful technique. We had one of my colleagues showed me how he wrote a brief for designing a conveyor in SolidWorks in about an hour. fairly useful conveyor for a mineral processing plant. I looked at it and I said, well, this is actually not too bad. And there's a few areas there which I could see improvements, but that is the first cut. Took him a few minutes. We need to look at how we integrate AI with SCADA and PLCs, verification, engineering judgment, automation of routine engineering tasks, which you've done already, summarizing stuff. I've got a really great technique now where I dictate something in a Word, in a dictation on my phone, and I just get AI to summarize the document in a few minutes, and it's brilliant how it comes up with. I have to go through again, refine it, because it's often a little bit average, but it still does a lot of the grunt work. So that sort of thing's happening all the time. And I saw today, big problem with obviously cybersecurity. One of the cybersecurity guys was saying this morning, he said it used to take 4 to 5 years to get a new cybersecurity breach happening, with new techniques. He says now they're doing it in a few minutes using cybersecurity tools, with AI tools. So that's a big issue and a big problem. Some of the limitations, obviously, it lacks deep physics, and you can see that happening when you do a drawing or a design of something. I was trying to design a 2-level tank, and I thought we could just use AI to do it. No, it can't. We had to go back to SolidWorks, back to AutoCAD, and actually do the grunt design, and then use it in the AI model. So it doesn't always have that deep physics to connect at exactly that tolerance that you want. It's not always accurate. One of our electrical engineering lecturers was saying this morning, she said she's using factory to do some of the design of distribution systems. And she said she thinks about 60-70% of the time it's right, 30% it's still giving pretty average results. So that's an issue. And then it can't replace safety. So if you're controlling something with a secure system, AI is not the place. And it needs verification all the time. So please bear in mind, there's no free lunch. You need to check whatever it suggests, because there will be errors, there will be problems all the time. There's no free lunch. So please bear those in mind as we go through this. And the reality today is that there's a lot of data. Complexity is growing fast, labor shortages for people that you want, and it can boost productivity. So those are all useful points. There's some of the risks which I've spoken about already. IP leakage, that means that you design something and then it leaks out, someone else uses it. To be honest with you, I think intellectual property, I know I'm being presumptuous here, but intellectual property doesn't have the value it used to have. You've got to keep changing, you've got to keep improving. The value that you add to any system today is all the bits, the humans, the hardware, the knowledge, the skills, all of that comes together. That's how you create value in any organization. So having some IP in a little code program is probably not as easy. So here's a few suggestions of safe usage, but I'm not going to worry too much about that. If you hear about AI today, you often hear it referred to in these sort of terms: machine learning, deep learning, large language models, computer vision, et cetera, et cetera. I'm just going to quickly go through what I mean by it, and I'm just going to give a quick explanation of that. So really, here's a typical discussion about the fundamentals of AI. So just briefly, before we go into too much detail on AI, I just want to clarify the terms. Machine learning has been around a long time, and I used to refer to it as multivariate statistics. So in the 80s, we were using machine learning. So Bretsky, if you're thinking about artificial intelligence, you can think about it as the whole thing here. Then machine learning, which is basically statistical modeling. and it's very useful for that. Take all of the zip codes or codes and identify people living in a particular area and work out their particular statistics. That's machine learning, very easy to use and pretty proven. Deep learning is over here, and it's basically a part of machine learning. So we're going to talk about what that is, and that's basically the focus of today's presentation, because large language models form part of that. So really, this is the model I used to go into a lot of detail with. I'm just going to quickly show you it. So here's basically the neural network, which is the fundamental underpinning. I'm not going to spend too much time about talking about back propagation, how you train the models up, but basically you end up with an equation looking like that. So it's obviously very statistical, and away we go. So, oops, what's that? Oops, I think I've just dropped out sorry, I just dropped out the slides there. My apologies for that. I was just scratching around on my pad and then the slides jumped out. Sorry, just go back to that one. Okay, so this statistical model is what we've been looking at. And as I said, I'm not going to spend much time on it, but basically everything is a sort of neural network. It's not identical to the human brain, as everyone says it is, but you end up with an equation like this, and then you end up with weights. And this is basically what you train your model on. And then it comes up with a output which hopefully approximates to the answer you want. And that is the major difference between that neural networks and just straightforward statistics. And then we've moved on to things called large language models, which is the next iteration, which is very cleverly done. And again, I'm not going to go into much detail here, but to say there's a thing called self-attention, which is used in a large language model. Now, self-attention is nothing more than taking a sentence, and every word in the sentence has a context. So if you've got 10 words in a sentence, the first issue is that every word has an order in the sentence, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then every word has a context based on the other words surrounding it. So that is really important to pick up. And that's basically the way the self-attention model is what changed the sort of fairly limited neural networks into something really major. And that is obviously where things have really taken off. So you can actually take a sentence and you can actually put the words in context. And before we couldn't do that. Every word is got a particular number or a vector. And the vector has 300 dimensions, very complicated because we normally work in 3 dimensions. And every word has a numerical representation, which is what the computer sees. And that incredible number crunching power to actually take every word in that multi-dimensional space and to orientate the words to each other is what we see with the self-attention. So obviously there's a lot of different models out there, and I'm going to give you a few suggestions of models in a tick. I've got a whole list of models. I'm going to run them through in a tick once we've gone through this. But obviously we have a thing called prompt engineering, and I'm going to talk about prompt engineering, and then I'm going to talk about something which is agents as well, just to introduce the concept. And believe me, when you hear about agents, don't think, ooh, it's something very new and, oh, it's going to be hard to apply. Very easy to apply. One of the ladies in our office who has no IT skills whatsoever, apart from working with Word, said to me yesterday, oh, I'm using agents in my work at home. I said, what on earth? Anyway, so I will just come back to that in a tick. So my next question is, just to get a profile of who you are, what AI tool do you use? ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, Claude? What do you use? This is text in the box. Let's have a look. Copilot, yep, everyone's using Copilot. And if you haven't been on a little Copilot familiarization course. It's worth doing. It can be a little bit limited. Hi, Alexander. Hi, Colin. How are you doing? Welcome here. Thank you very much from the Seychelles. Please send some rain and some sun warmth here to Perth. Gemini, Copilot, Gemini. No one Claude, eh? That's interesting. Oh, there we are. Carla, Claude. Yep, Claude is very, very useful for coding. And we're using Claude at the moment for a lot of coding work we're doing with design of labs. Gemini, yep. So Gemini, unfortunately, is perhaps, I don't want to be naughty here, but perhaps the swimmer that's right at the back of the pack at the moment in the pool, in the Olympic pool, so, or the Commonwealth Games pool. The Gemini's perhaps struggling a little bit, but Copilot's always useful, and it's definitely a thing. Not many users of Claude yet, actually, which is interesting. There are a few. Babs, Claude. Quen Studio's a new one. I haven't used that, Angeline. Thank you very much for bringing a new one on. My next question for everyone here is, do you find AI useful? So I've been talking about what I'm doing with AI, and we're trying to get more into detail. Do you find AI useful or not? Or is it a total waste of time? Or has it made a lot of errors? Please text in the box. Let's hear from you all. Yes, okay, that's good. Perhaps just tell us what it's useful for. Yes, it's useful for writing my emails or good. Okay, that's good. We're getting some activity there. That's brilliant. Useful to some extent as a guide. Yeah, thanks, Babs. Absolutely right. So as a useful as a guide, yes, brilliant. Okay, good. Okay, brilliant. Each use case is different, so different tools can be combined for different goals. Absolutely right. So my next question is, what do you use it for? Do you use it for summarizing, giving you suggestions, design your next plant, writing code, doing your next PLC program? Okay, yep, deep search, yep, that's true. Useful for research on engineering standards. Engineering standards is an interesting one, actually. Very interesting. I'm going to come back to that a bit later. Guide, research, and getting links for my own research. Yep, true. Writing and guidance. Yep. So at the moment, and it's probably fairly prevalent, it's a useful, let's call it chum. Little chum on the side, give you a bit of guidance. You don't always trust it 100%, but it does give you some helpful. Little chum, yeah, exactly. Suggestions, ideas, research ideas. Absolutely right. But you still have to be in control with critical thinking. Hello, what's going on? Is this make sense or not? Or is it complete dross? So these are important things here. Okay. Okay, that's great. Excellent. Thank you very much for that. And the last question before I move on is, what challenges do you experience with AI? What do you have with AI which is a pest, which is like, hello, it's not too good? Which is security. Yep, security is a big problem. It can be a problem because if you're putting anything on that screen in ChatGPT or Claude or whatever, it will be absorbed and used by everything. So watch out. Privacy and data quality, huge challenge. And I actually worry about it because I use it sometimes for health advice. You know, I've got a sore foot here, and this is as soon as you're putting that information there, I know in 10 years' time it's going to come back to bite me. So it is a big problem. It's not always truthful. Absolutely right. Yep. Security limitations unless subscribed. Missed details. Yep. Absolutely right. So as I said, when we were designing these tanks, I got the AI tool to come up with some designs that were very average, and we had to go back to brass tacks, back to design in SolidWorks, AutoCAD. That's it. Sorry, mate. No shortcuts possible there. So yeah, not always precise. So there's a few other comments there. Uh, it requires someone who has some understanding of the syntax, particularly in codes, not learning or trusting. Yep, that's true. Very limited. Yeah, for electrical instrumentation design, very limited at the moment. Absolutely right. So it's not a total panacea to all your woes in engineering. It's a useful chum, a guide. Whether it will get up to the standard of a full engineer or a design draftsman, woman, I'm not quite sure. I've got my doubts. It's a probabilistic tool. Okay, let's move on. Time is short as usual. Let's move on and so it's great for summarizing text. We've got there and can remove previous discussions, saves time and money, and it's trained on data. There's potential bias in the data, as you pointed out to me, and hallucinations still occur. In other words, it comes up with gibberish. And you say, this is completely out of step of what I want. And obviously, there's a discussion about language being the driver of AI, all the stuff that it's scanned in and trained the tools, the models on language. Language is not intelligence. It is purely a subjective bunch of words stuck together. Sometimes it's very objective, like a textbook written by an expert, but it's not always correct. And often it's very biased towards the northern hemisphere. So be very wary of that. So there's a few applications here I just want to talk about. Power systems, load forecasting, renewables, harmonic detection, very, very good for analysis, industrial safety, and then you can do PLC programming. I've done some really quite neat programming with AI, writing ladder logic, statement text, it's quite good. But again, there are some problems with that, and I will point out what they are shortly. SCADA, process control, PID tuning, all very good with patterns. And obviously, there's quite a lot of different engineering tools which use AI, which you'll see, thermal imaging, drones, vibration. So I've got a few examples here, which unfortunately we don't have the time to go through, but I want to just talk about a few issues here. So here's an example of AI-assisted fault diagnosis. Here's an exercise. So paste the AI SCADA alarm logs into ChatGPT and ask, group these alarms and identify the likely root cause and propose a troubleshooting sequence. So this is an example of something which we're hoping will take over the world and do things for us. So you get something like that. Level transmitter calibration due, blah, 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 random order. It's got a whole lot of alarms, and it can tell you what the problem is. So it comes up with a solution, and it says, here's another one. Here's another issue here. We've got pump discharge pressure low, pump tripped, tank low, process flow low. So this is a particular example of a grouping. So these form one sequence: loss of pressure, pump trip, drop in tank level, low flow, motor overload indication. So the first thing is to say, well, all the other alarms are not related. So it's come up with this. And the question is to diagnose what the problem is. So the problem with this is that it could come up with a multitude of different issues. So you would say, well, can anyone tell me, looking at this here, what would they say the diagnosis of what's happened here? What would you say is the cause of the problem here? Just text it in the box, chat. Okay, so we've got a suggestion here. Civil Works told me works very well, not 100% accurate. Yep, absolutely right. Yep, so that's true. Cyber attacker can poison the model to force dangerous results. Yep. Any suggestions of what do you think this alarm, what's caused this problem here? Just put anything down, doesn't matter. Tank is overflowing, tank's underflowing, pump is blown up. Pump tripped, yeah. So you can come up with a range of sort of issues here. And the point I'm making is that you, as the expert, are the only person that really knows what's happening with that particular scenario. It's a very localized scenario. There could be problems with the pump that you're aware of, that for the last few weeks it's been tripping. It could be that the tank has emptied for some reason. But the point made is that there are quite a few different scenarios possible with that list of points there. You may find that the AI tool will come up with a suggestion and say, hey, this is the problem. But in fact, it could be that the motor itself has failed or something else, or maybe the instrument has failed or instrument's giving you wrong information. So the point I'm making is that there are a lot of complicated scenarios, which is very, very difficult for AI to be localized enough to give you the full guaranteed 100% solution to what the situation is. So only you, with a critical looking at the problem, can assess it if you know your plant well. It's like in the old days, you used to walk into a plant or oil refinery or whatever, into the control room, and you were the control engineer, and you say, hey, we're going to change the PID loop, uh, tuning constants, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, you're a very brave person if you come along and impose your will on the operators. The operators often know so much about the plant, about the operation, which is embedded in their heads, their psyche. And that's the sort of information often hard to get with a tool like this. So the point I'm making is that just be very wary of, yeah. So there's a few suggestions here that we've had: burst pipe blockage, pump trip. There's a lot of often little issues which only you are local enough to understand. So you'll never get away from that. I can't see AI ever being able to reveal that sort of detail that only you as the critical operator have. So the point made is just be wary all the time, be critical. So it's definitely worthwhile thinking all the time of being critical when you see a diagnosis. Basically, it's a diagnosis from an intern, someone who's making a few suggestions, but that's it. AI-based tuning. Now, ladder logic's another one here. So it says, generate a 4-rung direct online motor starter ladder logic program with start, stop, seal in, overload. So very simple, straightforward thing. But of course, one of the issues with this is one of the issues with this one here is that you'd probably put in your rungs, but what do you think an AI tool will probably miss out on? Just tell me what you think in the text box. What do you think it could miss out on when I give it an instruction like that? Just text in the box. Yep, okay, we've had a few suggestions there. Excessive mechanical load or a seized pump. Thanks so much, Abigail. Absolutely spot on the money there. Yeah, the conditions. Yeah, as Daniel says, you've got to think about all the conditions that you may have. You may have some really obscure conditions which only you, as a user of the plant or of the PLC, would know. The AI tool is not going to know those extra conditions you're going to put in to the start sequence. You may put a whole lot of extra permissives into your run, and of course, AI tool is not going to pick those up. It will miss those. It may make a few suggestions, but it can't possibly understand your whole design philosophy. So again, you would actually have to think. So we've got a few overload. So we've got a few issues there, the conditions that you need to know about. So just bear that in mind. The other, and I've got a few suggestions there. So really the design pitfalls you've got to manage and think about. Hallucinated specs and loads. That's always a big issue. Local codes. Now, someone mentioned earlier on, hey, I can actually look at national codes and stuff like that. Certainly, you will get information with AI with codes, but unfortunately, you'll find a lot of standards are hidden. They're not easily accessible to the AI tool. So unless you've got those standards available, there's no free lunch. You may be missing the latest standard. So that is a big problem. I've used IEC 61850 for substation automation. Unfortunately, some of the critical details are missing, and they're not necessarily there because the standards, obviously, bodies are not going to give out their standards to these tools. They will forbid them from using it. Theft of my standards. So it will missing. Often local conditions, road building in a particular part of the world, it may not have all the details for road building in that particular part of Cornwall. There are some peculiar local regulations, and it won't have that information. Site data, it won't have local site data, so a big problem there. Climate and ESG, you'll find a misalignment between the northern and the southern hemisphere. That's always a big issue. Another thing is liability. No matter what the tool tells you, the liability still is with you as a user. You cannot give it to some AI tool. So it's your responsibility. We spoke about data sharing, huge risk there. De-skilling of junior staff is always a problem. How do junior engineers, technologists, tradies learn? You've got to spend time making sure they don't lose out. Skills and gaps. Obviously, you've got to keep yourself skilled up. And as we had pointed out earlier on, one area where I cannot get AI to do anything right for me is with diagrams. It'll come up with a beautiful picture of the sunset or some design, but when it comes to the actual diagram, very, very hard for it to think about space. Comes up with some stuff, graph, but a detailed diagram of a particular engineering artifact, very hard for it at this stage. I'm not sure if it will ever get to that stage. Hopefully it will, because I think there's a lot of mechanical work we do there, but it's particularly hard. So I just want to pull up a few more slides, Kumo, and if you can just forgive me, everyone, I just want to pull up a few more slides. I'm just going to share them. Share. I'll come back to this. I've got to jump around a bit. I want to point out that there's a few other. Hopefully, I don't pull up some naughty picture here. Here we are. Here we are. Okay, so can you see this one here? The march to agents. Can you see that, Kumo?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks. Is it readable or is it too small?
Um, Let me just check. Can you try zooming in? We're using the bottom part, like on the bottom left of the screen. There's,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, no, it won't.
It's not working. Let me try on my side. Can you see that it's expanding?
No, it's not. It's probably my mistake. Can you see the stuff at the bottom, the march to agents? Can you see that on the screen?
Yes,
Too
first
small.
primitive AI ancestor,
Okay.
second.
Okay, yeah, good. Okay.
Mhm.
So I'll just use that as it is. Maybe I can actually, I'll tell you what I can do. Let me just make it bigger.
It's
I think I
gone.
can do it. Has it gone?
Yes, sir. Maybe
Uh,
just try when you putting it on the screen, rather
okay,
present as if you're doing the presentation from PowerPoint itself, and it'll come out a little bit
okay,
bigger.
let me try. Can you see that now? No.
I see the presentation, yes.
Can you see evolution of AI at the top?
No, but
No.
maybe
Okay.
you need to wait, just scroll to it. Are you
Okay, let
there?
me just get,
Are you on that
yeah,
page?
Just let me get back again, sorry. I just want to do, sorry, just,
It's gone again. Just toggle the presentation on again.
can you see that now?
No, I'm just seeing you. Let me toggle it
Okay, here
on.
we go. Okay, oops, oops. Okay, everyone, we're back again. We'll be, just give me one.
Okay,
Okay,
you've toggled it. It's coming on now. And then
brilliant.
I see the ECT. Thank you for joining.
Evolution of AI.
Not yet. Maybe don't do anything. Let me try going there quickly. 2 seconds. The evolution of AI, right? Can you just let me know which page it's on?
Yep, that's on page 52.
52. Okay. Okay. Can you see it on your side? There we go.
Yeah.
Can our
Okay.
attendees see the
Can you all see the march to agents? Just text in the box. Okay, all I want to do is show you that there's another thing that's happening, and it's really the fact that we're using agents now. Can anyone tell me what an agent is? So we've started off with prompts, advanced prompts, system prompts, humans involved, but now we're using things called agents, which basically go away and write the code for you, and they sort out everything themselves. So that is the next development. So I just want you to bear that in mind. That is happening as we speak. It's becoming a critical part. So the obviously there's a few suggestions here. The other issue is lots of different large language models, and we've spoken about ChatGPT. Claude is very powerful. So if you're not using Claude, worth looking at. Gemini, probably not as effective these days, but it will bounce back, I'm sure. And then you'll see there's a huge discussion of models. And again, don't panic. The models will develop as time goes on. But what you're going to increasingly see is that you'll use a model for a particular application. But again, don't panic about, oh, I don't know all the models out there. There are aggregators now which are providing the ability to use different models. So depending on the application. But you can see here in this sketch here, models are growing and there are a variety of them. And there's also obviously cost is becoming a big issue as well. So that's another issue. And another topic that you will see is context window. So when you hear context window, don't panic. All it means is the working memory that the model has to understand your particular application. So in other words, if you have a 300-page book that you've scanned in, it may remember the last 50 pages or 100 pages or whatever. It may not remember the whole thing. The context window is what is used by the model in your particular application. So that's also pretty important to know about. Okay, so these are things that are happening, but certainly the issue about use of the um, the use of the agents is becoming increasingly useful. And again, you won't find agent sort of taking over tonight, but it is becoming a really useful device to use where you can set it going, it can go away and write a bunch of code for you, troubleshoot, and come back with a finished product. Whereas in the earlier days, and we still do, obviously using prompting is probably not as ex as useful as it has been in the past. So agents are definitely the way forward. Okay, so let me just go to the last few slides here. Sorry, I'm
Hold on,
just gonna,
Steve. Before you do that, let me just
yeah.
try something because our attendees can't see the presentation. So I'm gonna, if I take
Oh,
control,
yeah, if you take control, yeah, thanks very much. Thanks.
let me try and do that.
Sorry about this, everyone. I've been
Oh,
jumping
there we
around a
go.
lot.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's the that's the thing about the agents. Yep. Okay. Can you just pull back the original slides in Kumo?
Oh, the original ones.
Yeah.
Okay, let me do
Thanks.
that.
Thanks very much. And I'll just finish off. I don't want to go into all this. There's a whole lot of new stuff here, so we'll just do that. This is a presentation I'll be doing in the next few weeks. So don't. Um,
Okay, it's just loading quickly.
okay, excellent. So we're just loading an original presentation. Thanks very much, everyone.
Okay, there we go. Just let me know if you,
Okay, excellent. Brilliant. Excellent. Okay, can we just take control again?
yes, you
It's
can
loading
take
up, is
control
it?
now again. It,
Okay, it
it's loaded on my end.
hasn't come up here yet.
Does it not? Let's just give it a few more seconds.
Yeah, sorry. Oh, maybe it's bring content on screen. Sorry.
Can you see it now?
No, can you see it?
I can see it on my side. Let's just ask the attendees. Could you guys please tell us? No, they can't see it.
Right.
Okay, that's odd.
Uh,
Let me
just,
just toggle it off and on again.
yeah, thanks. That'll be right. Sorry, we have a few issues with Teams. My apologies. So while Kuma's busy with that, obviously, I just want to summarize by obviously looking at some of the, oh, there we go. I think there, it's coming up now. Yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much. Come back again.
Okay,
Thanks.
sure. You
Sorry
can
about
take
that.
control and go to the page that you'd like to go to.
Yep, I'll go to that page. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Take control. Thanks very much. Brilliant. Okay, so in essence, we've got a little side. I just went on a little bit of a tangent there, but I just wanted to emphasize the fact that there are lots of developments happening with AI. And the one which I haven't covered in this presentation, and I just wanted to mention it, it's a future presentation, is obviously the use of agents. So just bear that in mind. And then there's a few other context words which I wanted to obviously mention. Context window. And then just to go back again to the discussion we had about the design limitations. Um, I'll just quickly go to that. So with the design limitations, obviously, watch out for hallucinations. You still need to be absolutely critical at all times. I don't see any change to that. Also, be very careful about authenticity. And that means that when you write a document and you get AI to write it, often it will be very passive and average. You may need to reinvigorate it with your words. So people have said, oh, well, look, I'll let an agent run my email for me, answer things, stuff, and I can train it up. Be very careful about doing that because you'll lose your authenticity, you lose your voice. It's best to still keep yourself involved in that loop. So it's always important to be absolutely critical in your work with AI. Otherwise, you will be seriously disappointed. And the other point I was going to say is that when you're using AI for PLC programming, be very wary. It'll come up with a vanilla sketch of what's required, but only you have to actually critique what it's done because you may be disappointed with the results and you may be missing some critical parts out. If you're using any uh, control systems with critical outcomes, you cannot use a probabilistic tool like an AI tool to do the control. You have to do it yourself. You are ultimately responsible. So don't ever subjugate yourself that way. You'll be disappointed. So at the moment, as we say, as we speak, AI will not replace engineers or technicians or technologists. Um, but you still have to be aware that you need to use it for your work as a supporting mechanism. If you don't engage, you will be left behind. But do not depend on it 100%. It's a little chum on the side, that's all. Be critical all the time, and you'll be horrified at the amount of rework you have to do. And obviously, think about the practical outcomes. Localization, as I said, is an area where AI tools are just not able to zone in and localize to your particular plant, your particular part of the country, whatever. Your engineering judgment is absolutely critical. Don't ever compromise on that. It's worthwhile building up capabilities, data, Python, verifying AI outputs, and weekly AI experimentation. You may be disappointed with a lot of AI stuff, but it's worth keeping experimentation going. Keep testing yourself out, trying it out. At the moment, treat it like a junior engineer, drafts, but you verify everything. So even if you ask it to do a report for you, you need to go through and check out. And to be honest with you, when you're using it as a report, be very restrictive about the amount of words you get. It tends to fluff things up, blow them up, and you can actually compress it. So again, a trick which a lot of AI people use is keep it short and sweet. And then keep looking at projects, lots of pilot AI projects. Um, don't be too ambitious because you'll be disappointed, but small stuff all the time. But bear in mind that you will find that you, as an engineer, technologist, are critical in the loop. There's no way around that. So that's really all I've got to say. I'm sorry I overshot the time. The thing which I've spoke about was the issues with agents. That's the next layer at the moment, and that'll be a topic for a future presentation. And I'll come back to that in a few weeks' time. But thank you very much, Kumo. Any questions or any comments from anyone?
Sure,
Just
please.
text them in the box.
Yes, please. And while you guys are thinking
Thanks,
of,
Carlo, for that suggestion. I didn't see it. Heat shift F5, shift F5 to show the PowerPoint. Yeah, thanks, Carlo.
thank you for
Sorry,
that.
Kumo, you go for it.
Yes, so I was just saying while they're thinking of questions to ask you, I just want to inform them a little bit about the upcoming programs for ECT. We do offer two bachelors, one in industrial automation, the other in electrical engineering. Similarly, with our masters, we've got one in power system analysis and renewable integration. And we also have industrial automation and instrumentation control. So all of them are scheduled for next year, the 1st of February 2027. But for this year, the bachelor's will start on the 21st of September and the master's in October. So currently, we are running a promotion for our professional certificates of competency, which are delivered through EIT, the well-established EIT. And for the moment, normally the course is £933. So there's about a £300 discount for the courses. I'll put that information in the chat box shortly. And now for what we've all been waiting for, the certificate of attendance. And the QR code is there. You can scan that. And now I'm just going to include it in the chat box. So you can just copy and paste it to make things slightly easier. So there's the form that you'll need to fill in. And that form really is going to ensure that we get the certificate of attendance, the slides, and the recording to your email. If it's not in your inbox, kindly check your junk and spam mail. And as I've promised, here is the link for the promotion for our professional certificates of competency. I have included it in the chat, and I'll also be including our upcoming events for ECT. So these are the webinars that we will be hosting, and you can just go onto our website using that link to register for ones that you may be interested in. Do we have any questions?
Thanks so much, Kumo. Appreciate your choreographing this despite being ill. I'm sorry about that. Lots of
It's
vitamin
all
C
good.
and get yourself back to normal. Probably a snooze in bed, keep warm, and get better quickly. Really
Will do.
appreciate you
Thank you, sir.
choreographing this. Um, thank you very much, everyone. Really appreciate it. We've got another presentation happening in a few weeks' time with AI, which I'm refining at the moment with some real examples now that we've just kicked off the discussion. So thank you very much for your incredible contribution, everyone. Thank you, Richard. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. Really appreciate it. Very grateful, um, and looking forward to this world developing as we go on. And thanks so much, Kumo, for holding forth here, and obviously Lucy for fixing the slides up, getting them looking smooth and nice. So thank you so much, everyone, one and all. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Have a good day and take care.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.